Andrei, thank you so much for joining us. You have a film in this year's festival. Can you tell us a bit about your film?
Yeah, it's a film about a small mining town in Romania. I think as everywhere, I'm not sure about Canada, but as everywhere in Europe, mining towns are dying. Coal mining is dying. And this particular town is actually the oldest mining town in the country.
Dar soluția tehnică nu este unică.
A lot of people actually lost their lives in this mine. And the point where the film starts is that the authorities decide to close the mine and to demolish everything. Basically make it like there was no mine there at any point. And the main character, Ion Barbu, who used to work in the mine for 15 years and is now an artist and caricature drawer. He thinks that it's stupid not to preserve at least some towers, some buildings from the mine, to just preserve the identity of the town and the memory of all the sacrifices that were there.
Clădirea asta am reușit să o smulgem din ghearele demolatorilor.
So he starts a fight for stopping the demolitions and preserving the buildings, and he does that in the most unexpected way for a mining town, through art and culture. So that's my film.
Cu asta am încheiat mineritul la Petrila.
I followed his fight for 3 years. So I was there to film, for example, a theater festival that he organized in one of the buildings in the mine. Also, he took over this building and painted it inside and out. Then he made a memorial for the people who died in the mine, writing their names on a wall of one building. A lot of parades, costume parades, and a lot of drawing all around the town. So it's very contrasting place with all the post-apocalyptical buildings, and even the apartment blocks are half empty because there is no more work there. So it looks very deserted and very sad. But then from place to place, it's full of color because of the work of this artist, Ion Barbu.
And that was one of my next questions actually, was how did you go about capturing this contrast? Because as you mentioned, Petrila is an old mining town, and I imagine it's very gray, post-apocalyptic, as you say. But Ion Barbu's character is so colorful and larger than life.
Yeah.
How did you kind of get into this and decide,
Well, I think the way I got into it is that I actually shot 2 different films. So I followed the mine and the miners in their last months or years of working up until the closing of the mine, which took place in end of 2015. And on the other hand, I followed Barbu and his protests and his theater festival and his fight. I say it's like I have done 2 films because even stylistic-wise, I chose 2 different styles. I follow Barbu with a more loose camera, handheld sometimes, monopods sometimes, or most of the times, while all the mining scenes are tripod, fixed shots, really nicely composed, and no camera movement. So it's this solemnity of the mining scenes that makes a difference from Barbu scenes. And then in the editing, we treated them like 2 separate films, and we just intercut them in the last stage of the editing.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, and of course they meet at some point. I mean, Barbu, the main character of the film, with Cenuș, who is the main character of the mining scenes, they meet in the end and they kind of join forces to stop the demolitions.
And so you filmed in some active mines, over the shoulders, literally, of miners as they worked. What was gaining access to that like? It must have been...
Yeah, that was the hardest part, to gain access, not only because it's dangerous and yeah, it's not very wise to be there with equipment that is not, you know, made for, is not proofed for working in dangerous conditions. But also because I think with the mine being closed or being close to being shut down, they don't really follow regulations anymore. So I think people were scared that I'm actually doing a sort of investigative journalism, which I didn't. But they were very scared of what I'm shooting. Even at some point there was word from the management that no mine employee should talk to me. So I had the permission because I got all the permissions from Bucharest, so from like top authorities. But locally, I was met with a lot of suspicion, and yeah, people weren't supposed to talk to me and give interviews, but I didn't even want to make interviews. It's an observational documentary, but yeah, they wouldn't understand that.
The fear or the
Yeah, they were just afraid that, you know, I'm going to see how they are not following regulations and how dangerously they work, and how the stealing of material is going, because I think, you know, knowing that it's going to be shut down and demolished, I think everybody was kind of taking a hammer home and tools and whatever they could find use for.
bit of a free-for-all at that point.
Yeah.
Well, what impact do you hope that your film will have on people that, you know, come into the theater and learn about what's going on in Petrila?
Well, I think the main message that I hope people get from my film is that whenever authorities do something we don't like, we have to stand up. I think it's a positive example of one man who says, no, this is stupid, this is not right, and in a very, very original way, through color and art and culture, he fights back and actually manages to win the fight. So this is my main message, you know, when politicians forget that they are there to rule for us, not against us, we should go out on the streets and we should remind them. Yeah, that's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing your message, Andrei, and hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.
Well, I hope I would like to meet some Canadian miners to come and see the film. I know there is a good tradition of mining in British Columbia, especially, and yeah, enjoying Vancouver, though it's a bit rainy today.